President.
You're playing
I'm very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling with the lives of
war.
millions of people. You're
You
gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
The meeting itself was a gamble, and the public had never seen anything like it.
A dangerous war took a perilous turn on Friday during what was intended to be a brief and cordial meeting. Instead, former President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky clashed in the Oval Office, leaving a key alliance shaken. For 3 years, the West has stood united against Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, an invasion driven by Russian President Vladimir Putin's imperial ambitions. This war has resulted in over 1 million casualties on both sides. Trump has repeatedly claimed that only he can end the conflict swiftly, but his recent erratic attempts have alarmed allies and emboldened adversaries. By Friday, tensions reached a boiling point as Trump openly criticized Zelensky, the leader standing between Russia and the rest of Europe. "You're in no position to dictate how we feel," Trump scolded. "Right now, you're not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position." Zelensky, however, stood firm, pushing back against Trump's remarks. The confrontation marked a critical moment in international politics, raising concerns about the future of U.S. support for Ukraine and the stability of Western alliances. "You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War II. You're gambling with World War I." The meeting itself was a gamble, and the world had never seen anything like it before. A U.S. president publicly dressing down Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, whose people have borne the brunt of the fight to stop Putin from advancing beyond Ukraine's borders and into NATO territory. From Moscow, Vladimir Putin watched the footage from the Oval Office. And what did he see? "Putin couldn't be happier," said retired Army General H.R. McMaster, who served as National Security Advisor in Trump's first term. "What he sees is all of the pressure on Zelensky, all of the pressure on Ukraine, and none on him." The U.S. and its allies watched the same footage, and their reaction was one of shock and disbelief. "What they see is something that's just confounding," McMaster continued. "A conversation that doesn't reflect the reality of this war, a war that is a crime against humanity." They ask themselves, how can President Trump berate the leader of Ukraine while speaking favorably about Vladimir Putin? The war's brutality is undeniable. Mass graves of Ukrainian civilians. Entire cities reduced to rubble. A murderous front line where Russia occupies 20% of Ukraine and continues to bomb the rest. 4 years, American-led sanctions isolated Putin. But last month, in a stunning reversal, Trump flipped U.S. policy on its head. He opened peace talks with Russia and left the world questioning what comes next. Trump refused to invite Ukraine to peace talks with Russia while simultaneously promoting a distorted version of history. "But today I heard, oh, we weren't invited. You've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it. 3 years you should have never started it. You could have made a deal. But Ukraine didn't start the war." Then Trump made another misleading claim. "We gave them, I believe, $350 billion. But let's say it's something less than that. But it's a lot. The real number. $122 billion. Not $350 billion. The next day, Trump escalated his rhetoric, attacking Zelensky personally. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast. He's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast because that war is going in the wrong direction. But Zelensky is not a dictator. He was democratically elected in 2019. There hasn't been another election since because of the ongoing war. On February 24th, Trump's tilt toward Russia became even more evident at the United Nations. The U.S. broke from its allies and sided with Russia and North Korea, opposing Ukraine. Alarmed, the leaders of France and Britain rushed to the White House. In the past 2 weeks, we've heard Trump call Zelensky a dictator. We've heard him say Ukraine started the war. What is going on? A former U.S. official explained. President Trump has a tendency to say outlandish things, sometimes to shake things up, sometimes to create change. But what he doesn't always consider is how his words can undermine his own agenda, hurt U.S. interests, or be perceived internationally in ways that differ from how his political supporters interpret them. Those words were damaging to Ukraine's morale. War is a contest of wills, and Trump's words delivered body blows that could weaken Ukraine's resolve to continue fighting. But Zelensky's will to fight remained unshaken. He had pushed for Friday's meeting with Trump, determined to sign a deal that would secure Ukraine's future. Trump had demanded Ukraine sign over mineral rights worth billions of dollars to repay the U.S. for its support. Zelensky came to finalize the agreement. "Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have President Zelensky of Ukraine," Trump began, striking a diplomatic tone, at least for a moment. "I give tremendous credit to your generals, your soldiers, and to yourself. It's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They are great fighters, and you should be very proud of them," Trump told Zelensky. "But now I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country." Trump cut in. "Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.